No, I'm just reading the agenda. Sorry.
Again, for the allegiance, we are going to start with one personnel item first.
It's actually two, there's an A and B on that.
That would be A and B. Okay. Okay, appointment of interim superintendent of schools of the Highland Central School District. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby appoints Deborah Happ as interim superintendent of schools of the Highland Central School District for the period commencing September 13, 2017, and terminating upon the commencement of employment of a new interim superintendent of schools or superintendent of schools. This would be at the rate of $650 per day, and authorizes the board president to execute an interim superintendent's contract with Mrs. Habb that sets forth the terms and conditions of her employment as interim superintendent of schools. Item B, appointment of acting superintendent. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby designates Sarah W. Lemick to serve as acting superintendent of schools during the absence or disability of the interim superintendent of schools during the 2017-18 school year.
Motion?
Motion by Sue,
Second?
second by Mike. Any discussion?
I think I just want to, so basically here, you understand we're under superintendent search, and this allows, now we had spoke with Deborah Habb about, even though her employment terminated and she's now effectively retired and moving on, that there would be an interim period that she would be here in the district and also be available to administration if she were not here. Kind of for formality, there's always documentation and things that need to be signed by the superintendent of schools or acting superintendent of schools. So it's a transitionary model till we announce who the interim will be.
Anything else? Okay, take a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Okay. Thank you. Public comments. If you'd like to speak, please state your name.
Hi, I'm Danielle Damasio.
Mary Rosen.
I'm here on behalf of the varsity swim team, the girls swim team, and I just wanted to bring up to the board members the situation that we've been having. I did go see Mrs. Habb the day before her last day, and I basically had 5 minutes with her. She was running out, so I've also spoken to the athletic director about this. So unfortunately, we share a pool with Marlboro. We practice with them. We have been with them, our girls, for 3 years now. We are a separate team. We are scored separately. This year it was decided that we would swim separate and have go to separate meets. Today we had our second meet in Marlboro. There are 11 events. I'll be happy to share with you that we won 10 of them. Our girls, we only lost one relay, and with that we lost the meet because we had 9 girls on the team. We can't fill the lanes, and the other team from Middletown had about 30? Yeah. About 30 girls with a 6-lane pool. We get 3 lanes and they get 3 lanes. You're scored first, second, third, fourth. They got second, third, and fourth and everything because, again, we couldn't fill the lanes even though we won every individual event and 2 of the 3 relays. We lost the meet. What we're asking for multiple reasons, is to go to have tri-meets with Marlboro. I don't see a negative here at all. The athletic director tried to say maybe school spirit, we're our own team. Believe me, I've been at the meet, we have school spirit, we are our own team. However, we can share a bus, that saves the district money. The coach for Marlboro has coached our girls the past 2 years without a Highland coach. He knows our girls very well. He dedicated his 3 weeks of the summer before we had a coach, coaching our girls with his girls. He ran our meet today on the computer during his time while our girls were swimming and his girls could not swim because we had the pool. When Marlboro has a home meet, our girls can't practice because they have the pool. And again, today, if we had a tri-meet, Marlboro would have had 2 lanes, we would have had 2 lanes, and Middletown would have had 2 lanes. We would have won against Middletown. Again, we have school spirit. This is a Highland team. You should see them. They swam masterfully the past 2 meets. Very disappointing today that they won 10 of 11 events and lost the meet. I don't see a downside. Ray Leduc from Marlboro has been great to our girls. They all adore him, he adores them. We have our separate coach, they will be scored separately. All we would like is for them to travel together, have home meets together, have away meets together. This way, when it's a practice day, they can all practice. They've been practicing together for the past 5 weeks with both sets of coaches the past 2 weeks. And I don't see a downside. This is Lisa Relier. Her daughter's also on the team, and I'll turn it over to.
I just want to say that it's just been terrible from the beginning. For the last couple of years, we understand that it's the first year our children got involved. There was only a few girls, so they combined with Marlboro, and that worked out great. So the coach got to know them. And our girls are really good. I invite anybody here to come to a swim meet. You'd be amazed. These girls are going to make states this year. A handful will. And for the next few years, they are that good. They really deserve to be prioritized. And again, Ray Leduc from Marlboro is the only one. He went out of his way and said, "You girls come to, no matter what happens, come. We will get you in the water." It doesn't seem right or possible that we're kind of being. I understand that there was a coach at first, and 2 weeks passed by, 4 weeks passed by. We didn't hear a thing. Danielle, Allison, Banker jumped in and tried to, they threw their stuff into the mix, and it's going right now, but we definitely need something more. We need to help them to succeed, and our school spirit will be better if we can combine with Marlboro.
Again, not
So-
just
I do want to have a
just-
dialogue, so if I could just, I'll probably ask a few questions,
Yeah.
but if I could just interrupt, because whenever we take a look at mergers or coordinating athletics with another school, this board really looks to provide opportunities for kids. So while the experience right here isn't, let's say, a 10 out of a 10, I would hope that we can all agree that it's better than no opportunity at all. Now, if you don't, then that's something that we would reconsider in future opportunities. But my understanding is once you cross a certain threshold with the number of athletes involved, and is that 11?
No, here's the thing that Mrs. Hobb and I went back and forth on. She kept using the word shadowing.
Right.
It has to be
Right.
under 7. We're not asking to shadow. Shadow is what we did last year when we had 7. We shadowed, which meant one coach. Still separate teams. So say it was Middletown, Marlboro, Highland. Middletown went against Highland and Middletown went against Marlboro. So we were still scored separate. And by the way, when that happened last year, I think we won 8. We went 8 and 4.
We won a
Highland.
lot.
But excuse me. So we're not asking to do that because we have 9 swimmers and Marlboro has 10. All we're asking for is tri-meets. We have separate coaches. They have their we're just asking to be on the pool deck together, to travel together, to have our home meets together because we practice in the same pool. Again, they have a meet, we can't practice. We have a meet, they can't practice. That's all we're asking.
And
I don't
even-
understand the downside to it. I don't see one
that-
downside
Well,
to it.
if everybody agrees. Now, even though the coach sounds ready and willing from the Marlboro side, are we aware, and Frank, I don't mean to put you on the spot, and
I'm
it could
fine
be,
with anything.
has the athletic director of Marlboro communicated an interest in moving in the direction?
Yes, but
explain
they don't
why.
want
The
to
athletic director of Marlboro and myself have talked numerous times going way back,
Right.
okay? Give you a little bit of history of it. 2-3 years ago, we were merged with Marlboro. We
Right.
had less than 7
Right.
swimmers,
Okay.
okay? So anybody from High End would go swim with Marlboro, with a Marlboro uniform, score for Marlboro. Last year, Section 9, the body of Section 9,
Change the rules.
changed the rules, okay? Where 2 schools
Oh, that's.
in
right.
individual
They changed
sports,
it,
in
yeah.
individual sports cannot merge, okay? If we had 2 swimmers, we can go swim with Marlboro, we would shadow them. Similar to what Marlboro does with wrestling with us. We have a wrestler from Marlboro who wrestles with us. He scores, he wears a Marlboro singlet, he represents Marlboro. Our coach tries to get him a match every single time that Highlands has a match. The problem here is, it's not a problem, but the problem is that we have more than 7.
Right.
So we are our own team. When Section 9 designed the schedule, okay, for this year, they did not have Highland and Marlboro as a tri-meet, okay? Today, we had a Section 9 meeting, after I did speak to Ray LeDuc, did speak to John.
And I remember now,
okay?
as you were talking, this
And I asked them,
conversation.
can you make it tri-meets? And I know that Ray had the schedules in there. Section 9, coordinating office,
Yes.
is asking us to take our, I believe, 3 other home meets and either reschedule them, okay? One of them might end up being a tri-meet if Roosevelt is available. One of them, there is no conflict, and one we're gonna switch to away. So those 3. That's all, I mean,
But
I can't
either
go and
way,
ask Section 9 to change
We're
the whole
up
schedule.
against, that's right, we're up against Section 9 requirements. And I remember Ms. Hobb having a conversation on multiple occasions, if I might add, with Section 9, and they did not change their position.
So that's all true with the shadowing, but this is just asking to go to meets together. I talked to the president of Section 9, and he told me it really isn't a big deal, because if you really think about it, and these are his words to me, Marlboro has a meet with New Paltz, Highland has a meet with New Paltz on different days. They go to New Paltz and say, we're gonna put Highland and Marlboro together. Maybe on Marlboro's day, maybe on Highland's day, that doesn't matter, whatever they pick. Then New Paltz goes, okay, now I got an extra practice day. All it does is change say we followed Marlboro's schedule and went to all the meets with them and our home meets with them. All they would do is take Highland off of the other 7 teams' schedule and give them an extra practice day. They'd still have the Highlands meet in their scores, because they'd still, when they do the tri-meet, they go against them.
So are
So the president of
is the
Section 9
president of
said that to
Section
me.
9 gonna change the
This is-
schedule to accommodate?
This is what he said to me, he said, all I need is your athletic director and Marlboro's athletic director to agree.
He needs to talk to our athletic director. What
That's
did
what he
they
said.
say to you, Frank?
I spoke to the man who makes the schedules
No.
today.
And he said,
He said he preferred that we would take those 3 dates that are wherever there's a conflict, and
okay,
either change the dates or change the sites. He does
so,
not want to have and make them to be tries, because then there's an extra official that's involved,
Right.
okay? And it changes the schedule and ripple effect. This is what the gentleman's telling me
I
as an
okay,
athletic director.
okay,
It's one
now,
less official, it's not extra.
right,
official.
but
one
you
more
see,
official.
and
So
I
fine.
totally get what you guys are saying, but you have to realize, it sounds like he's telling you one thing, but we have to go by what they're telling our athletic director. But now, Frank, can you change these 3?
Today, after my meeting, I came back and Elizabeth and I sat down. I took Marlboro's schedule and Highlands, found the 3 conflicts, and we've already accommodated one of them, and we just need to
Okay.
accommodate the
So
other 2.
you're gonna work on the other 3. Now, my
Absolutely.
question is, here forward, maybe we can't make anything change for this year, can we work on it for next year?
That's where maybe this school board, with its superintendent and with the athletic director, sending a letter to Section 9 and pleading to them to change it.
Yeah,
It's-
they don't
okay.
listen to us.
Yeah.
But, you know, Ms.
We
Hobb
didn't
was
have
at the
much luck
meeting
with
and
the other
basically
one.
dismissed her.
We share
swim with
a pool.
Marlboro.
We
That's
I know,
share a
no, I
pool.
get that, but you see, we even
That's-
went to head with
Section 9
Section
is
9
not
for
being
this whole
clear.
swim thing, and it didn't
No, I
happen,
understand,
you know what I'm
believe me,
saying?
we all wrote letters when they separated us. It was very heartbreaking because the girls are friends, all
It
that.
was
But
not
actually
our,
now,
we did not
we're
like that.
Highland's a very strong team on its own, so
So
we're
last
good.
year, that team
Yeah.
did well by itself. They were by
Right.
themselves last
Right.
year, they were above 500
But we,
with 7, 8 girls.
We-
That
we
is
were.
Yeah,
correct.
but So
But
we
we
would like them to be
traveled,
put on the priority list because they're very good and it means a lot to our girls as far as scholarships and college, you went to college.
Yeah.
And it just didn't flow well from the get-go and we're asking
Well,
that we
because
please.
Section
Section
9
9, yeah.
had their rules and they're quite
Well, that shouldn't
inflexible,
have been because we knew this last year.
despite what you
Yeah.
were told.
We're just asking that.
yeah, but I'm gonna
Put
tell
it-
you, the president of Section 9 said to me, if your districts called us and said, we would prefer, because we share a pool, and by the way, I don't wanna get into this, but our coaches have conflicts, our main coach has a conflict, and if you say you have some coaching issues, that we would prefer to travel to do tri-meets this year. Again, not shadowing, tri-meets, he said, the director will allow it. This is what he told me,
Well,
this
this
was
is
the
something we
president.
could probably do.
I would
for
like
the
someone
future.
else to ask him, because I feel we're not getting the attention.
I would like to,
Director
as a
Reeser.
board member, to consider it further, I would like to see that on paper from the president of Section 9.
Okay, I'll give him a call tomorrow.
Yeah.
If he could embody what he told you in a letter to the board of Highland School District, we'll perhaps, we'll see what we can do.
That's all we would like is for it to go to Section, I mean, they keep saying to me, it's up to your districts. And we know Marlboro's on board, I mean,
If
that poor man today had to run that meet. He's
It's
a
all right,
Marlboro
Frank.
coach.
it was up to the district, I think we'd still be merged, to tell you the truth.
See, that's true, you know,
I understand.
Highland
We would be
did
merged
go
probably
to
as one
bat
if it was
for
up to the
this.
two
We
districts.
really
No
fought
problem.
for it, we
No
really
problem.
did.
I know that you guys did, and we did
We
too.
do, we appreciate
And I
it.
mean, we weren't here, raising our voices then, it really was, but this year just has, and I know we, had to coach and he didn't quit and all that, but, we are where we are, and I mean, poor,
Right.
Mr. Leduc today, I mean, he took his girls to an away meet yesterday, our girls are at the pool, again, if it was all meet, we couldn't swim, and then he's there today running our meet, because it's his school. It just, to me, it's not efficient, I mean, I don't see one downside.
We could,
Share us money.
I appreciate it, and we could talk about it all night.
Okay.
And the common ground here is we want to make the best opportunity available to our Highland students. To proceed or even consider anything different, we will need to see those options that were so openly shared with you by the president of Section 9, because we're a formal body
Yep.
on paper, and
Okay.
we'll
That's
take the
very
next
good.
conversations.
Yeah.
What was
Thank
the conflict you just spoke about? There was a conflict, you said?
Yeah,
Well, we scrambled for a coach because we had a coach, I mean, we did, and he got a job, I guess, at a college and he quit before practice started.
2 weeks before.
So we were scrambling for a coach and so one of our coaches, our club team coach from New Paltz Hawks, we basically begged her and she said, look, I have conflicts, my daughter swims at New Paltz, I coach the Hawks, I can go, I have to leave at 4:30, I can't stay till 5, I can't make this meet because my daughter swims on New Paltz and I wanna see her swim. So all these things that if you, agree to them, then I'll coach you. So again, I wasn't gonna get into that, but that's also it, and we have one of the mothers who will be the backup, she's not a swimmer, she's not a swim coach, but she got her credentials, so we're okay.
With that.
But we really scrambled here. Again, I don't see a downside. I understand Section 9 has to.
Right, let him have the conversation, let us get that in writing, and Frank says he's made some changes. We need to go forward now, possibly next year, this is all new to us too. Last year they took away our merge.
Yeah.
I mean,
Have them put it in writing and,
We weren't happy
so
yeah,
that nobody from our school is embarrassed when they go before that
Absolutely.
board to
Thank
speak
you.
to that
yeah,
situation.
Thank you so much.
thank you, Frank will be in touch.
Go
Thank you
Huskies.
for your time. Thank you. You would have been proud of them tonight.
Come to a meet,
No
come
questions.
to sections, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for public comments?
Tom, I want some clarification on the interim superintendent. When BOCES was here and laid out a timeline, and he talked about what was going to happen, and perhaps not till February of next year, would you have a person? Does that mean that Deborah Hab will be here every day until next February?
Not necessarily.
No, it's expected throughout September and possibly the first few weeks of October until we appoint an interim superintendent.
Oh, would Sarah be doing, would you be doing that?
The interim superintendent job.
Right.
This is acting superintendent, so this is really a standard, anytime you're an assistant superintendent.
And the
So that you give,
I follow
so
you.
that if the superintendent's not there,
If the superintendent's off-site, Sarah is the
you have
acting
the authority to do
superintendent
what needs to be
Right.
done.
for
Right,
Highland
right.
Schools.
But then you will you will appoint an interim in mid-October or something like that?
We could.
Yeah, that's the expectation. That's the conversation right now. And
Because
there
Deborah,
are some
She's
interim.
leaving to go to Long Island, I think, right?
Correct. So sometime, but sometimes she'll be in district,
Right.
other times she'll be out of district, in which case Sarah will be our acting superintendent for this month period or more. I
Right,
mean, we're
right.
looking at
Oh, we don't want-
highly qualified interims at
Right.
this point.
Is there any additional salary for Sarah's position when she is doing the acting?
No, not
Stays-
at
stays
this
the
time.
same. Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Anybody else? Public comment? No? All right, we have two special presentations. There is an order to them on this sheet, but we are going to ask the music boosters to go first.
Yeah, I got one.
Can I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
You're good?
I'm good.
Thank you for switching. We appreciate it. As you know, we are a 501c3 non-for-profit organization. So we're partnered with the Highland Central School District. And so we really appreciate the opportunity this evening to just kind of update you on our half of the partnership and what we've been doing. I guess the biggest question is why music? It's the question that we get asked all the time by people in the community, business people, corporations, but it's also the question we ask ourselves all the time. It keeps us centered and focused, and what we're hoping to do is tonight we want to kind of take you through the process of how we address this question, and also we want to show you the positive impact of what you're doing as a school district in music education and how that's helping us. So in other words, to come back to the partnership, it's how our partnership is working and how we're working together. A friend of mine, a former colleague of mine, we hooked up this summer, and she showed me this quote. It was at a workshop she was at. And the minute I saw the quote, I went, this is us. This is the conversation. It's the essence of what we believe. We truly believe that reading, writing, math, and science are the bricks of education, but we truly believe that the arts and music are the mortar. And if you think about that, it's how the connections are made. Music and art are truly what help make the connections for our students. And so from here, our number one focus is, of course, our students, how we're going to help them be successful. And so now we're going to take it from there.
We thought we'd start off with the question that, we look at ourselves and, we talk to the community and all our stakeholders in general. And we wanted to pose a question to the board too. What do you feel our students need today in order to succeed in the future? Just anything.
Oh, communication skills.
Communication skills. Anything else? Just in general. Is there any
Critical thinking skills.
critical thinking?
Tech.
Yeah, obviously. We're born into a 21st century that is
Tech explosion.
tech explosion. And what that does is it requires a lot of different skills. We looked at it and we thought that, critical thinking, problem solving, being creative and expressive, memory, self-discipline, motivation, listening skills, all of the soft skills and the educational skills that they need are all things that they need in order to participate in music. Music is one of the few places where you can use every one of these important skills that they use for all their education absolutely together in one place. So we feel that the entire music program is a very important thing to support. And we've been posed the question, I said, well, you're not a traditional booster organization. And I said, and I always answer, yes, we're not. Usually a booster organization will support a specific purpose. There's a marching band booster, a string program. You know, Randy and I have discussed this, and our executive board's discussed this several times. Our approach is, and we feel that it is important to support the entire program. And by supporting an entire program, we are affecting a tremendous amount of kids. We're able to support not only the performance groups, but the general education in music too. And that benefits more of our district than I thought it did originally when we looked at the numbers. So we want to go into how music benefits the entire community as well.
And I think along with this slide, that was the other point, is that when we go out and we're talking to the community, and because we are not just fundraisers, the business community has embraced us, and many parents that don't realize that music, number one, is for every student. And our district, we are proud to say, make sure that every student does receive some form of music education, especially in these financial times. To a point. Because choral and band programs are not mandated by the state. So for us, again, that's a big positive that our district has maintained our choral and band programs throughout very difficult financial times when many districts folded it or started to take things away. We've kept ours fully intact and have not cut it in any way, shape, or form. We've kept all 6 full-time music teachers as well. But again, like our little graphic here is just why it's important to every child, obviously, why it's important, but the communication between our business community and our school community, and we see ourselves as connectors there. Because when we go out and explain the economic value, and again, some of our graphs and charts and the data that we collect and see, businesses are more apt, or they're very gracious in their donations when they realize that it's not just a small target group. Sometimes when they think of music, they think of just, oh, the band, or oh, the chorus. But when they begin to hear about all the music programs and how they interrelate with the core subject areas, it takes on a whole new approach. So again, in our next slide, as we've said many times before, our approach is different. And advocacy, we kind of call it our 3 pillars when we established our organization, in that we don't just do fundraising and grant writing. Grant writing is a little perk by being a 501c3, but advocacy is key for us. And one of the big things with advocacy is we offer free membership. We want to embrace the entire community, and we want everyone, whether they have children in the district or not, to understand the importance of a good, solid music program. And when people look to come into a community, as you all well know, they'll research and see what kinds of activities do we offer, what other co-curricular activities do we offer. And to be able to say the things that we do, it has a very positive effect. What we did in this graphic for you is we just kind of broke down we are now in our 6th year. These are some of the accomplishments we've done under those 3 categories. And so we just kind of listed, we have received some grants. They are difficult to find, but we research them, we try our best. You gotta be in it to win it, that's always my saying. And we did luck out, and we've gotten several that we've received instruments for, and we have received some monetary grants also from some different organizations. Our fundraising, we kind of call it creative fundraising. We try to keep it at a minimal because of all the other very valuable groups that also fundraise. And we don't want to keep tabbing into the same people. So we try to keep it creative, and we've established some different things. And we look for organizations that will help us. We've done Macy's Shop for a Cause in the past. We supported the Rotary with Ribfest, and they're very generous in returning to us for our help and giving us a donation. We began a donor program last year, reaching out to local businesses, and have been extremely successful with that. So that just kind of gives you an overview of some of the things we've done so far.
And what we've looked to do is be very creative in how we communicate to our community, to our alumni, to our students, to our faculty. And we try to embrace as much social media. We work off the district webpage. We have monthly meetings. We're going to do a lot more this year with video. I'm looking for opportunities to expand our tech so that we do reach people on the ways that they do receive information.
We have a
And I think
monthly
that's-
newsletter. Sorry, we have a monthly newsletter.
Our
that goes out.
newsletter, so we're trying to approach every form of communication we can to stress the importance of how much of a return on investment you get out of a music program as a whole. And that's one of the big focuses in our 6th year, we're gonna try to provide. And we've also gone into doing a lot of research for a resource manual which we've developed over the years. And it's not just information for the parents, but it's also for students. It's also information we found that could help our educators. You know, we're trying to get the information and disseminate it out. We're a single point of contact. We feel that we can research and do a lot of investigation into what music education or music opportunities are out there and just relay the information. It's not that we're looking to form any policy, but we're just trying to convey as much information to as many people as possible. And that's one of our big focuses. Now, when you look at grants and you look at conveying this information to several different groups of stakeholders, you have to look at data. And data is very important. And I work with data every day in my 9-to-5 job. And it struck me that the amount of data out there on music is staggering. And the amount of data in general in the 21st century has become explosive. There was actually a study done that showed if you took the amount of data that's created every single day, each day, it would equate to, from the time human beings started painting on cave walls, the year 2001. Now when you think about that, that's everything that was ever created knowledge-wise, done every single day, over and over again. So there's a lot of data out there, and you have to sift through it, and you have to understand what you're looking at, and have it work for your advocacy point of view. So we look at, you know, we have the data that's available to us, and we don't evaluate it, we kind of analyze it. And analytics is a big part of what our data is about. If we look at what we have, and we say, how do we show that this is a productive, we have a very productive music program. By looking at the data we have, we've been able to, you know, having 6 full-time teachers is an absolute plus where districts are struggling to fund the programs.
And as I said before, this data fully supports the great job that our district is doing, which helps us. So when it comes time for the grant writing, they're looking to see percentages. They want to know, number one, do we have a music program? What does our music program look like? How many students out of your total population are involved in music? When we go out to businesses and we're asking for donations, again, it's the mindset of, well, it's just the chorus kids, or it's just the bit. No, it's everybody. And when we start telling numbers and percentages, all of a sudden they're like, wow. So we're really helping the entire district when we do these things, and we're like, yes, you are. So the different graphics we have there are basically showing, and I guess in summary, Joe, you can just say, we basically have anywhere between 50 to 60% on average that out of grades 4 through 12 that are allowed to participate in the instrumental and choral program. We consistently, the district consistently shows at least anywhere between 50 and 60% in the past 5 years of participation, and that's pretty awesome.
And not only that, but 9 out of 10 of our kids get a musical education every year.
Exactly.
We're educating 9 out of every 10 children in music every single year. So that's with our general music and our performance group. So.
And that's basically what all of this shows. So that when we receive the data from the district, which we're appreciative of because we do need it, it really helps us in our efforts for grant writing and for reaching out.
And the other thing we were able to do is look at, say that we've been very efficient with our money. You know, we haven't lost anything, which is an absolute plus. The district has been able to fund the music program, and by not seeing a reduction in our music program, that's a win in this day and age. It certainly is. Compared to other districts, it's something that we were able to figure out too, based on what we spend on music. We're educating kids for $10 a kid.
And we're educating in three different curriculum for that. Because what you teach in band is very different from what you teach in chorus, from what you teach in a general music program. So for 3 totally different areas of instruction, if you average out all the details, and again, they're approximate, but they're rounded off, this district is actually educating every student for less than $10 per student, which is pretty awesome. So again, when we go for asking for money, it's like they realize there's not a surplus here, and that whatever they're going to give us is going to achieve our goal, which is, again, to maintain and to enhance, to help maintain and enhance.
So to get to $10 per student, what did you do? You took the total number of students times the cost of 6 full-time professionals and divided?
No.
No, we actually did not include salary.
It says it on the other one. We didn't include the 6 full-time salaries at all because we don't really know that. We strictly went by the budget. We looked at the budget, and again, it's approximate because we don't know. We looked at the music line items that are
Okay.
allotted in the budget.
Other than salary?
If you go,
Other than salary, if
right.
you look at the budget, what we
Right.
use to spend on music, we're doing it for less than $10 a
Right.
kid, which
And
is
what we did was we
phenomenal.
added up,
I was just trying to say, because
Yeah.
we often, we talk about spending per pupil,
right,
and, you know, it's 16 regular ed, 20-something
Right.
special ed. So but those numbers are not comparable,
no,
because
and
they're
it even
derived
says it right on our
differently.
graph there that we,
Fair enough.
without that, that's the part we left out. Strictly materials and curriculum things. And then this is just to give you a little breakdown of our contribution to the district since we were established. Again, this is our 6th year. And what we tried to do is we wanted to show that with the help and support of our whole community and our school district, again, we rounded off the figures, but so far we've brought into the district a total of almost $39,000 worth of equipment, supplies, and again, we tried to break it down for you a little bit in terms of instruments, equipment, monetary awards. We put that under kind of advocacy. And we do our recognition awards to students. We've given out $1,800 so far, and the students that are making use of it, it's just wonderful, and it's providing motivation. The medals, the t-shirts, those kinds of things. So to date, we have contributed almost $34,000 worth to the district in our music programs. Thank you, thank you. Again, it's a working partnership, so we're proud of that though. And then just in summary,
we're looking to move forward. What can we do to help foster, innovate, motivate, encourage involvement? We'd like to, help our students become much more involved with the practices we use. We met with the faculty, we met with Sarah and Jeff 2 weeks ago, a week and a half maybe, to see what we could do. And we talk to parents on a regular basis, and we're out in the community, and we do a lot of outreach to the community. I know personally, last night I was at the 9/11 observance, and you were there with me, Sharon. So we're out there. We do talk about music. We will discuss music with anybody who will listen. We try to emphasize the importance of it and how important it is to this community. We want to sustain, motivate, and encourage the involvement from all our stakeholders in the music program and show that it does make our community special.
So how do you get better than 90%? I mean, if we're teaching music to 90% of our kids, probably above and beyond maybe some other school districts our size, what
I think
are
there's-
some of the ideas around those concepts?
I think one of the things, and we've heard it from, is, again, in the last slide, is sort of how do we make ourselves better and increase our communication and do more? We've heard things like we do have students that major in music education and having a theory class or being able to introduce theory and composition in different ways, whether it's creatively or a separate course, it would be wonderful. We've had other people that say, well, can you start a string program? It's another avenue. Composition, there's all different ways, and so we're looking, and how do we keep these students motivated? We all know that we're a relatively small school district, and small school districts struggle because all those children that do so wonderful are in everything. They're in athletics, and they're in music, and they're being pulled in all different directions, and scheduling, of course, is a difficult kind of thing.
I
So-
read about some coursework that it was like you have math, science, and technology courses, right? You have 3 disciplines coming together. The 2 disciplines were music and social studies, and it was studying history through the musical
Absolutely.
perspective, because a lot of the music, and when it was written, reflects the time. So not that you almost want to couple something that's already running before you get to new. So perhaps if you could I always found an interest with that. I connected well with social studies and music. So perhaps a project-driven approach. So 4 lessons out of this secondary, middle school, or high school class would discuss, possibly introduce social studies through music, and you could study lyrics. I mean, it tells you everything
Well, an
there.
integrational approach, you could do it with just about any
So
subject area.
something just, you know, it could be small scale, but this way you start to phase in something. So while you contact the music teachers,
Absolutely.
maybe in diversifying your approach, other people could be.
Well, the advantage too is reaching out to our community. There are a number of musical opportunities out there as well, and having the community engage the district to ask for student involvement. I know personally I participate in a couple of different musical, I sounded taps last night at the 9/11 observance. You know, I would love to be able to get, you know, some students to come down and actually cascade taps with myself, and we actually do an event at Memorial Day where we do that across the walkway as well. We work with the Department of Veteran Services there.
That's a good approach because it's taking the kids out to the venue.
Yeah.
The idea that I was talking about actually gets those folks in.
Right.
The other thing is we do have several notable alumni from our district who are actively engaged in music education or music performance in the world. Wayne Myers, who graduated in 1990, is a professor of trombone at the University of Austin. Dr. Yuri Bortz is a professor of musicology out in Ohio State. These are all graduates of our district. You know, getting them back in to maybe provide a master class or something like that, that sort of opportunity.
And we're looking also, as we said, in communicating with our music department, having it come from them what is most valued because they would know. And
Yeah.
we're more than happy to do those kinds of things and research them out and see if we can bring them into the district, sort of like master classes or programs,
I would love to
residency
bring
programs.
programs in that would fit
things
into
like
their
that.
curriculum. You know, it depends on what they're teaching, that,
Right.
you know, it doesn't fit what they're doing. But I certainly would be glad to research and help them develop an opportunity to further our students' ability
Absolutely.
to apply music in their everyday life.
So in closing, we just, and if there are any other questions, but we came across in the most recent Music Educators magazine, there was a gentleman his name is Bob Duke, and he's written several books on music, and he was the speaker at the last conference in November. And when I read this article, he had one little paragraph and one little question that he answered that I thought just kind of summed it all up. And he was asked, how does music fit into the education of the whole person? And his reply was, most people I know who are happy and who have rewarding lives engage in active arts experiences. And nearly all parents of means provide art experiences for their children. But for many children, school is their only opportunity to have arts experiences. Advocacy for music education is, in a sense, advocacy for equal opportunity. Also, I know of no learning experience other than music when there's a clearer connection between the efforts you expend as a learner and what comes back to you as a result of those efforts. We know very well that a sense of personal agency is essential to well-being. We need to learn that we can actually make things happen. Learning music contributes to that. Plus, as a result of your efforts, you can actually make music. How cool is that? So, we leave you with that thought, and we thank you very much. And if you have any other questions for us,
I just want to thank you for all the time and energy that you guys do put into it. You contribute a lot to the district.
It's a passionate group, and that's to everybody here.
Yeah,
Thank
our
you so much.
executive board
Thank you.
is second to none. I
Yeah.
think we do a phenomenal job. Randy's our fearless leader.
Yeah.
She does a great
Great job.
Thank you very much.
She gets all my money every time she's here.
Well, thank you very much.
I don't know who
Because
she
again,
is.
it's a partnership, and without the great work that the district does, it wouldn't be possible to complement it in the way we do. So we look forward to continued success, and next time we're here, hopefully we can jack that number if even.
There you go.
Randy, one more
You
question.
did
Sure.
work on
The extracurricular percentages you quoted, 50 to 60%?
I'm going to refer to them as co-curricular, forgive me, but as the co-curricular, when we figured out with the numbers, the participation, if we combine, and we're talking elementary through high school, when we looked at the bed, we usually get the numbers from the beds reports from the district, so it may vary a little through the year from when we get them. But in the past 5 years, and I can't give you the exact, it has gone anywhere between 50 and 60%. It seems to stay pretty constant, because like anything else, you have your peaks and your valleys.
Right.
But that, in my opinion, I think that's really great, that we're always seeing at least half in grades 4 through 12, because those are the students that are allowed to participate in those programs. We're seeing that pretty
You
constant
happy with
throughout.
that number? I mean, is
Oh, you'd
there
love to see more.
a possibility that it could grow?
Sure. Anything can grow, I'm the cockeyed optimist, I think anything can, I mean, there's different factors why it stays where it does. Like I said, I just know from personal experience, when you're in a smaller district, those students are pulled in various different places, and the troubles you have with scheduling, the difficulties, scheduling's a nightmare. So sometimes it's difficult, students want to, but they can't. But sometimes you find flexible ways to do it, if you can. So my thing would be, if you can, yeah, why not? Why not strive for more participation?
But also within the bigger districts, I think they have other options within music, like you said, could be a theory class, could be, any number of
Yeah.
classes. that-
I know of a
Would
few
be offered.
smaller districts that for the first year, one is incorporating a theory class this year. They've never been able to, and they managed to figure it out at the high school level. And for the first time, they're going to have a theory class to offer to students separate. And there are some districts about our size that also have string programs. But with that, you also get, your students now are separating. So you may have a good string 1 year and your instrumental program goes down a little bit. There's pros and cons.
We can't
So,
compete with an Arlington
you know.
school. I mean,
Oh, well,
we-
no, we're not the
Well,
size.
But if you look
But
at
there are
those
some
that have,
smaller districts about our size that have string programs. Wallkill has a string program.
Yeah, they do.
Spakenkill has a string program. They've always had a very strong string program.
And Wallkill actually has a former graduate of Highland teaching there too.
So there are some
Very
smaller
important.
districts as well that are surrounding us, but like Kingston obviously is much larger.
and do you know if that's a school structure, or is it a club?
Oh, no,
Is it,
well, I can't
that's
speak.
a paid,
I
that's a
can't-
paid,
Right, I'm
person.
pretty sure Wallkills is within the school day, it's part of one of their full-time teachers
Yeah.
that I know of. And I know in Spakenkill it is full-time employees, and the programs are, well, at the middle and high school level, it's during the school day.
so this isn't something where your band teacher has to know string per se?
No.
I see.
Going back 30 years ago, my experience with the music program's a little dated, but we had a theory class here at one time, I know. We had theory, I took, my senior year, I took theory and guitar, so that was something we did do in the past.
Different
so-
requirements.
We've talked about electives and, there's a lot of need
Yeah,
in we offer for our size.
I think we do a very good job
Oh, I
with our
think so
size,
too.
and it's tough.
Yeah.
The amount of scheduling problems you have nowadays, it is difficult.
Music
It's a
versus
nightmare.
STEM, there's a huge support for added STEM.
Right,
type of-
exactly.
Yeah. Anyway,
But I think where you were talking about integrating some of that.
Absolutely.
yeah, it's just, it's
The music could be integrated into
opportunities
STEM
for,
very easily.
Oh, absolutely. That's why they have Steve.
Exactly.
Because I always, one of my favorite quotes is the fact that, music is very important, and it's very important to make it a real world, correlation between the two, because one of my favorite quotes is even Bach was a church organist, he had to do, there are certain things in the real world, when you're a musician, it's never that field you're gonna get rich in, but, it's something that always enhances your life, so.
Again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Joe, is that all set up for me to do my,
I switched it back to the input was on, so I hope so.
because I'm seeing it up on here and I'm not seeing it on,
Because I put it back on the end.
You might have to do function F8 or whatever pushes out.
area of expertise.
Or six.
Or six, yeah.
I was
Number of
curious.
units in that one. I'll come over.
Yep. And all spell, I guess. Yes.
Send me those slides. Sure. Do you have my, you get our paper? Because my email is right underneath our name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's about 3 or 4 slides.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you, Mike.
They're the new coaches, right?
No, they weren't happy about doing well in recent. No, I think that's a must. Need a body. Yeah.
That's okay. Actually, it worked out very well that we had the music boosters, I think, do the presentation that really fed right into what I want to talk about. So I wasn't thinking about that at the time, but it flowed well. What I wanted to do tonight was to just give the board, and as well as our audience, a little taste of what we did opening day. This is not an exhaustive look at poverty in our district, but we did on opening day really kick off a deep look at our students living in poverty in Highland Central Schools. And this will be something that will be an ongoing conversation, ongoing work, ongoing strategies throughout the year. So I just wanted to move forward. I have a couple of videos. This is a short video of students talking about.
I was born by the river in a little tent. And oh, just like that river, I've been running ever since. What was supposed to be our room had like a dead lizard skeleton in there. And we were sleeping on the floor. You know, there were always like gnats around the bananas that we had. And in the backyard, the grass was like really high. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come.
We couldn't afford the house that we were living in with before Dad left anymore, so I think the bank took the house, and so we had to move, and then we moved again. I think in the course of 4 or 5 years, we moved in like 7 different houses or something crazy like that.
When my dad left, we were struggling a lot because my mom is disabled and she can't get a job to help to pay for the bills, get food.
I lost a lot of weight. I remember I used to be a size 5 and I went from a size 5 to a size 0. So, you know, I try to not eat too much. I try to eat in school.
There was nights where we didn't have anything to put in our stomachs.
It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die. 'Cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky.
I remember sitting at the gas station, she's putting like 50 cents in the gas tank, and I'm like, I see other people, they're putting $20 in. Like, why are you doing that, Mom? And I asked her one day, I'm like, why do you put so little in? She's like, I don't have money to get to work.
She worked 4 jobs. There were days where like I hardly saw her at all just because she was working so much and she was always tired. And like it was really difficult to make ends meet.
When you're homeless, you don't have too much to call your own. So, you know, food is when you don't have money, you don't have clothing, you know, food is definitely a necessity or a concern. You know, even still to this day, we have troubles with food.
The first couple of months at the shelter, I felt like I was losing myself. My grades dwindled, my spirit died, and I didn't really want to do much.
you know, when you're kids, you kind of like want all these things, and when you don't have the money, you kind of, you know, you're kind of sad. You're like, I kind of want it, but I can't have it. It was just kind of like chaotic, and it just very, I don't know, didn't make you feel very like secure about anything.
It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh yes it will.
So the purpose of that was not only to show you what our students are going through, but to show you there's many different faces of poverty, that every individual student has an individual situation that they're going through. And I just wanted to ground the presentation in that. So why Highland? Why are we talking about it right now? If you look at Highland and the number or the percentage of economically disadvantaged students, though we're not the highest in the county, in fact we're the third lowest, we're still right there, and Ulster County as a whole, we're at 42%, New Paltz 25, Wallkill 36, a few more in the 40s, and then Ellenville is actually the highest, and then Kingston. Ulster County as a whole has a problem, and I was actually reading an article this afternoon that the overall poverty rate in the country for students is around 50%. So we're actually at a point where more students are living in poverty than not, and those are the students that are in our schools, and we need to think about how to address the needs that those students come to us with.
Sarah, what's your poverty statistic? In other words, is this our free and reduced lunch ratio?
It's a little bit more than that, and truthfully, I'm not sure. We use the statistic that the state uses for the state report card. When you look at what defines a family living in poverty, it's about $24,000 for a family of 4 for a year.
So it's really, this is really income driven?
This is income driven.
Okay.
And what I pointed out the first day of school is that those are the students who specifically qualify to be below the poverty level. I would say that we have many, many more students who may not officially qualify as living in poverty, but who are hovering close to that number. And so not only do we need to address the students who are at the very lowest, but we also need to think about those families who are struggling, but maybe don't get some of the support that they might if they were.
Which we refer to as at risk in different discussions.
Right, and at risk in lots of different ways, but yes. So if we look specifically at Highland over the last 5 years, and this is something we've talked about as a board and at meetings, I mean, our number has been slowly increasing. When I thought about, we're roughly around 1,800 students a year in Highland across the district. That changed from 35% to 41%, represents about 100 students over those 5 years, 100 more students who are living in poverty. So though we're not at the 70% rate, it's very concerning, and it's something that we need to be very aware of and cognizant of, that 4 in 10 of our students are living in poverty, and probably at least another 2 or 3 that are at risk. So the question is, what does this really mean for our students who are living in poverty? These are very brief clips, about a minute each. This first one it's from an organization called 60 Second Know-It-All. It's kind of interesting. They do very quick 60 seconds to give you the background information on a particular topic. This one is about the effect of poverty on a developing brain in students.
Hey guys, I'm Carly Kloss, and I just created my own website with Wix.
Go to Wix.com to create your... Upward social mobility is one of the basic ideas behind American society. The idea that your kids just might end up doing better in life than you did. But of course what we see is that kids who are born poor and underprivileged often tend to grow up into adults who are poor, underemployed, unemployed. The cycle seems to be getting harder to break, and it turns out there may be a medical reason for this. A study published this summer by the American Medical Association found that the brains of poor kids may actually develop differently from those of their better-off peers. Specifically, these doctors did some brain scans and found changes to the frontal lobe that governs executive function. That's planning, organizing, paying attention, remembering details. And the temporal lobe, where the ability to understand and use language is centered. Both these areas were underdeveloped in the poorer kids they examined. Well, there's all sorts of possible reasons for this. Differences in nutrition, certainly, but also a relative lack of stimulation, lack of social interaction, parental involvement. We all know these are dangers to impoverished kids, and it looks as though these things can subtly, but profoundly impact brain development, setting kids back years, affecting them for their whole lives, really, and making it all the more difficult to give them any meaningful help later on.
The second clip reinforces that and talks a little bit more about
The deck is already stacked against children living in poverty, and now there's growing evidence that living in poverty can negatively affect children's brains. A study by researchers from universities in Michigan, Wisconsin, and North Carolina found poverty can diminish the brain's gray matter, the tissue that processes information. The reduction in gray matter volume was found throughout the brain, but most noticeably in the frontal lobe, temporal lobe, and hippocampus, areas tied to learning. The researchers found children in a home at 1.5 times the federal poverty rate had 3 to 4% less gray matter than the average child. And that number more than doubled once a household went below the poverty level. That had a very real effect in the classroom. Children from low-income households scored 4 to 7 points lower on standardized tests compared to children with higher socioeconomic statuses. The U.S. Census Bureau put the poverty rate for children at just under 20% in its most recent 2013 finding. The researchers behind the gray matter finding have a pretty controversial solution though. They argued funding should be increased for programs that help those near or below the poverty line. But the effectiveness of those programs has been debated. The Head Start program said its funding has been reduced the past few years, leading to 53,000 children being cut from the program. This year, the budget has been restored, but future cuts are feared. For Newsy, I'm Jay Struber.
Hey, I just spent a lot of money getting this advertisement in front of you, so if you're
on our students and a few of the things that we can start to do. But I don't want this to be about this being a hopeless situation that we can't really solve. Certainly, we in Highland are not gonna solve the problem of child poverty in the United States. But as a community, there are things that we can do. They've demonstrated that providing rich experiences for students, providing things like music education, broadens their awareness of the world around them, it heightens their literacy, heightens their vocabulary, heightens their ability to do work. These are just, you know, a few quick examples, but I believe as a community, we've done a very good job at creating safe and caring environments in our schools. Our real next step, and we're doing this to some extent already, is providing that literacy-rich environment of exposing them to the world outside of Highland, outside of New York, and whether that's by physically going outside of Highland or New York or the United States, or bringing that outside world in. And I do think that that's one of the areas that technology helps us so much. It's so much easier for us to have the students experience things beyond the walls that they're in on a daily basis. So this is really just a starting place. And I want to bring in our mission statement. We decided 4 years ago that this is what we were committed to as a community. And what I said the first day of school is every part of our district, whether you're a bus driver, whether you're a custodian, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a TA, whether you're secretarial staff, whatever it might be, you have a part in creating this environment for students. And I really think that if we stay true to this, we can help our students in poverty in many, many different ways. There is one more video. I'm not going to play it right now. If you have the opportunity, once I'll try and send it to you. It's Rita Pearson. She has a clip. It's called "Every Child Deserves a Champion," or "Every Kid Deserves a Champion." It's really well done, and she really talks about creating connections with students, and that's really one of the #1 factors of keeping students in school and engaged. But it's a little bit longer, and I want to move us along here. In the video, one of the things she talks about is seeking first to understand. So the second day of our superintendent's conference days, we spent time in educating ourselves really on the experiences that not only our students in poverty have, but our parents who are trying to navigate the world that we've set up for them. We did two different sessions. In the morning, the elementary school teachers were here. In the afternoon, it was the middle and high school teachers. It was facilitated by Gwendolyn Rohrbach and Stephanie Lappin, who work for BOCES. The program itself was developed in the state of Missouri, and so BOCES has become a facilitator of this program. And what happens in the program is that each person who participates is assigned to a specific family, and not only a specific family, but you have a specific role within that family. And then you have a whole packet of information. It tells you how much money you have for the month, what bills you need to pay. Some of the people in the families are children, so they have to go to school. If they're younger than school age, you have to provide daycare for them. I mean, it's a very real world simulation. It's not a game, it's a simulation. Every family structure is different. It's based on a real family. So some families might have had a mom, a dad, 1 or 2 children, and grandma living with them. A couple of the families, one or another of the parents might have been disabled in some way or didn't have a job. Sometimes it was a single parent that was running the family. There was, a pregnant teenager, and how do you deal with that? And then around the room, we had 15 different people set up with different agencies. So there was the bank, utilities, social services, the police. We did look at some of the other ones were interfaith services, grocery store, work, and you had a specific. You had 15-minute, 1-week periods of time. So it went through 1 month. Each 15 minutes was 1 week. You had to go get your food. You had to pay whatever bills. You had to pay your mortgage. You had to get your kids to school. And the biggest part of it was you had a transportation pass that represented being able to get to all these different agencies. And you really had to think carefully about how you use that transportation and how you were going to get from place to place. The 3rd week was spring break. So kids couldn't be in school, so you need to think about, all right, what are you going to do with your children? There was a police officer walking around who was checking to make sure your kids weren't home alone. We had, in the afternoon session, we actually had someone who was working as someone pushing illegal activities, and so a different way to get cash to try to pay your bills. And it really went on. It was about 2.5 hours, the full from beginning to end. The facilitators did a very nice job of setting up the environment for it, and then the teachers participating, and then we did a long debrief too of, okay, what did you learn from this? What did you experience? What did you feel as you were going through this? And it was very interesting to listen to the responses, because people were very surprised at how immediate it felt for them to try and get, pay the bills that they need to do. You could get evicted, so really worrying about, okay, we gotta pay this mortgage, how are we going to do that? I definitely heard people say, I was surprised at how I would consider engaging in a legal activity when it was a choice between feeding my family and paying the bills and not. Of course, this is not a real life situation, so there's not much, there's no consequence really for engaging in these activities, but it definitely made people understand that things that maybe some of us in a middle class, upper middle class upbringing, that maybe things we think about as choices aren't quite the same level of choice for a lot of people. So it was quite powerful. I've had a lot of good feedback from it. Lisa actually was the school teacher in our afternoon session, so she had a large class of students.
In a one-room classroom.
and
12.
I have to say, people very much got into their role, and so you had very many unruly students, we had truant students. I was very impressed. I had participated in it earlier in this, in February or March, BOCES had done it for administrators. I really was very impressed at how authentic the experience was for many people, and definitely made people think more carefully about how they interacted with their students and what they experienced. The biggest thing, though, that I also wanted people to take away from it, and everything we've read and talked about, that lack of gray matter does not mean that you don't expect as much from students. It just means that you think about how you're going to support them. And we don't necessarily need to know on an individual basis which student is living in poverty and which student isn't living in poverty at a classroom level. In my opinion, it's a lot more about what can we do for everyone so that everyone feels included and feels like they can do well and can be successful. So this was just the starting point. I've mentioned when we were talking about our LAP plan that our next step is going to be doing a district-wide book study. All teachers and TAs in the district are going to be looking at this book for students, Rich Thinking by Eric Jensen. He's kind of one of the gurus, so to say, of students in poverty. Our instructional council members, who are our grade level coordinators, department chairs, as well as our administrators, will be leading the book discussions. And the book is a very practical, it has some of the facts around poverty, but it also really looks at, okay, what does this mean for us in classrooms, and what can we do to help support our students? So what we did on Wednesday was not a one-time thing, and then we all go off and live our normal lives. We will continue to move back to and continue to talk about our students living in poverty. And as you know, I always like to finish with our main focus that students are the priority, and for this year, that's really going to be one of our main goals, is looking at our students in poverty. And of course, there's an element here about our test scores too, but it really is about how do we help our students be successful across the board, and despite or considering their background as well. Any questions on that?
Sarah, as you know, I've always had this is one of my pet peeves. I love where I live. I love this community. I've been here over 30 years. When I first started on the board, I think there were about maybe 2,100 kids. And at that time, the free and reduced was 29%. And I know my colleagues, oh God, Sue's got the broken record. And now, here we are, we're hovering around 40%. Plus, we've dropped in population. We have about, I think the last I saw was about 1,760. So if I times it by what you're saying here, 40%, that means we have about 700 kids living in poverty. I also, and this is not just Highland, because because I'm on the board as BOCES as well, Chuck also reports that all districts are losing students. So it's telling me that this beautiful place is getting unaffordable to make a living. And I strongly feel we have to look at that too. And it's so unfortunate that we are such a rich country, the stock market's going crazy, the billionaires are getting richer, but it's really falling on those folks who don't have an opportunity for that piece of the pie. And it's just,
I'll share
it's
with
so
you
disturbing.
the article that I was reading today, because it really talked about, again, the macro, looking nationwide. I have to say, I did not realize that our number here in Highland was really about the average across the country. And of course, we all know that the large urban centers tend to have more students in poverty than those that maybe live in suburban areas, but we also all know that rural poverty is a real problem, and maybe we're kind of in the middle there. Sue, I'm with you on that, and I would also say that this is my beginning of my 20th year in Highland, and to me it's always been one of the reasons why I wanted to stay here. Because I really felt that we have a lot to offer to our students, and we have the ability to change their direction if we do right. So thank you for sharing.
This past spring, a situation hit, I just really recognized it, was, you say all students have the same opportunities. Well, they simply don't.
Well, no, I don't think we all have the same
But,
opportunities.
and a situation brought to my attention this past spring that we offered after school extra health classes. And unfortunately, due to other things going on in our district, we did not always able to provide busing services for these students. So the students had to make a decision whether to, the kids that could most definitely stay were the ones that had maybe a parent at home with a car, or they themselves had a car on campus. So it didn't matter if there was a bus there. The opportunity was there, they took advantage of it, and they could stay. The other students who could be some of that 40% number had to make a decision. They didn't have all the same opportunities. As much as they wanted to stay and reinforce or kick it up a notch and really get understand what's going on in the courses. So it's a shame because we weren't able to fulfill that opportunity for them. And not to say we were working on it, we were, but it just was physically impossible to do that. But
right, and I don't think there's anyone that
whatever you
felt
want to say.
good about how the year ended with that.
It was just a very pointed example of, poor students, rich experiences, not the same opportunities.
Yeah, I think it's something, and again, I feel like we need to keep that attention there and keep the conversation.
It's worse when they express a desire, they want to take advantage of what's available and they can't.
But I will also say that money is not always the answer. Because even if you had the money to afford more bus runs, the drivers to drive those runs are hard to come by as well. They're connected systems.
Oh,
That's not the
absolutely,
point I'm saying. I'm
and
saying it's on the students and their families, that the family support wasn't there due to, the economics. They didn't have the opportunity to say, I don't care if there's a bus or not. I'm going to stay because I know somebody's going to come pick me up. That's what I
They
meant.
gotta go home and watch a younger sister.
Or that too, there was,
Absolutely, there's so many
Choices.
different situations
Here, we
like
try
that.
to concentrate on the things we do have a say over,
Absolutely.
because there's so much we don't.
Right, and that to me is the biggest message in trying to build as much into the student's day from 7:30 till 3:30, you know.
4:30, whatever
Right,
it may
bringing
be.
whatever it might be, in trying to create as rich an experience here as we can. Could it be better? Of course it can always be better, and that's what we're really working towards. I do feel pretty good that when the students are here, for the most part, they're getting a pretty good experience, and they have students who care, or have adults who care about them in the building, and I hope that most of them feel that. You know, again, there's always outliers for every situation, but this is going to continue to be at the forefront of conversations as we go throughout the year, and I hope that we can feel like in Highland we've done our best to take all of those different parameters that we have to create the best experience. So.
Sarah, that school lunch program or the meal program that we were talking about earlier, is that based on this poverty level that you're using here?
Usually for the districts that, like New York City's most recent people heard about, that they're offering free lunch to all students in the district, you usually have to have a poverty level that's above, I think it's above 60%.
Okay.
We're not really
Yeah,
even
we're not even.
close. You know, which is another one of those, it's frustrating because we're not close, but we know we have a need. And we know, scientifically we know that if students have a good breakfast and have a good lunch and aren't hungry, they're more able to focus, they're healthier, they're, you know, it's the underlying, you know.
Some of the residual discussion that we talked about just make a universal food program.
Yeah.
We feed the kids, there's snacks available, and, you know, we spend so much time on the accounting side of our food service program and how much did you sell and take it. The bottom line is students learn best when they're not hungry and not worried about where they're gonna get their next meal. So let's take the big leap together. Urban, rural, urban, all of us, there was that conversation.
It's just very frustrating to think that we're just not poor enough.
Right?
You know, that's
You hear it all the time.
That's
You
embarrassing.
hear it from families who are going to seek assistance. You're just not.
Yeah.
They make
Just
too
not.
much money.
Or
And that was, I mean, I know we could talk about this all night, but, or I could, I don't know. That was one of the things, social services is one of the organizations that people could go to, and so 2 of our guidance counselors were acting in the social service realm, and they said afterwards they felt so, because they have a script that they have to go by.
They were overwhelmed.
And they said they felt so bad that they had to say to these families, and people were into it. There were people that were almost crying about it, you know, and they were saying, we wish we could, but we can't. And they would try to say, okay, how about you try interfaith services, or try community action, or, you know, but it was a pretty, I think, emotionally draining day for everyone that was involved. Again, I think it was a good foundation, and then we'll be able to discuss it more as we go.
Thank you so much. It was a very moving presentation.
Thanks, and I will send you the link for the other video because, I don't know, I've watched it many, many times at this point.
Yes.
I would love to share the book with the board, if you're interested in
Oh,
having
I'd
a
love
copy of
to.
it.
Absolutely, thank you.
If the meeting was long, I'd be all the way down there, but.
Any public comment on that presentation?
Sarah, I have a question on the 24,000 you said, is that the national number?
Yes, and don't quote me on the exact amount, but it's right around there. But you'd be able to find it on the internet, I just don't remember. I know I saw one that was 23 something and one that was 24 something, so, each year it changes.
The national poverty
Yeah, so-
threshold for a
yeah.
family?
That's for a family of 4.
How do you, did you, in Highland in particular, how did you gather that total?
Part of that is gathered through our free and reduced lunch applications, because in order to qualify for that, they have to apply through that. That's really the main method that we have. Probably, there's a chance that some of our homeless students, we might be able to gather some information from them, but you know, a lot of this is very interconnected, so when a student becomes homeless, they automatically qualify for free and reduced lunch, and
The services that do
Yeah,
kick
that-
in once a
that kick in.
designation is made.
and sometimes we don't specifically know, because if a family qualifies for SNAP, for the food service, we automatically get a download from the state saying these students qualify for free and reduced lunch, which then we know that they've been low. But sometimes families directly apply to us, and we have to look, and again, it's another heartbreaking situation that our food service director ends up in, because they have to tell somebody, I'm sorry.
You do or you don't?
You're $200 off where the line is, and
Are you projecting that this will rise in the next 5 years?
we've seen an increase pretty much every year for the last almost
Since
every
I've
year.
gotten
It's
on
gonna
the
keep
board.
going.
The article I was reading yesterday said that one of the factors was certainly the downturn that happened in 2008, that really created, that's where you saw big jumps. But until the economy as a whole begins to rebound for the bottom third as well as for the top third, we will probably continue to see that.
What do you think's driving that?
We'll take one more question.
Yeah, I think
and then
I think we could talk about
yeah.
this forever, but it's a tough situation. And I'm certainly not an expert, so I'm just trying to become more of one. It is.
Okay, acceptance of reports. Be resolved that the Board of Education, based upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, approves the following reports. We have Board of Education meeting minutes of 8:22 and 8:29. Do you want to do these separately, or do you want to do them as a block?
I'm fine with it.
Okay, as a block.
Yeah, I mean, they were pretty strict.
All right, I mean, there's 4 of us here. So, general fund budget, and revenue status reports, June 17 and July of 17. Have a motion, please. Motion by Deb, second by Sue. Any discussion?
Sarah, do you know how much was used from our fund balance to balance the budget? Was it $1 million or $1.5 million?
I think it was $1.5 million.
$1.5 million? So if I, okay, so that, we're in pretty good shape for the end of June. Okay. Okay, great.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, all in favor?
Bye.
Okay, personnel. Anybody see any reason why they don't want to take personnel as a block? Is there anyone that we want to pull out and reach this specifically?
They're all pretty
It's pretty normal.
standard.
Yeah. Okay, be resolved that the Board of Education, on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, approves the following personnel appointments and moves. And that would be A through F.
Move it.
Move it. One,
I'll second.
Any discussion, anything in particular within this? All in favor?
Aye.
At this point, I'd like to recognize the special education teacher who's in the audience. That would be Joanna Aegis.
Yes, Aegis.
And you're going to be a special education teacher in the elementary school, correct?
Correct.
Thank you for showing up.
Welcome.
Yes,
Yes,
welcome.
we're very happy to be here.
So, thank you.
nice when the new appointees show up there.
Yeah, very
Put
nice.
a
Yeah.
face with the name.
Appreciate that.
So
Well, I
that,
appreciate having the opportunity, so thank you so much.
no problem, welcome.
And we also thank you for being down at the elementary school for the open house tonight too. That's
Also very
great to be able
important.
to.
It's important stuff.
See the
It's
students.
important stuff.
Exactly.
Very excited to have Joanna with us.
Yes, thank you very much.
Good luck this school year.
Thank you.
It's a nice place to work.
Okay,
You
business
can
and
go
oper-
now so you can go to bed.
Go to
And
bed,
here,
home.
right
I
back
believe in
and just.
that.
Yeah, and good all the way home, maybe have a little bit of a drive.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, business and operations, budget transfers. Be it resolved that the Board of Education, upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools, approves the following budget transfers as presented to the board at this meeting. Budget transfer number 1648 for $96,012.63. Budget transfer number 1646 for $91,946. Budget transfer number 1647 for $443,424. And budget transfer number 1829 for $299,532.05. Move it still. Second.
Second.
Any discussion on these numbers?
I guess I'm just not used to seeing such big budget transfers.
Most of them are related to the
It's the construction.
capital.
So this is normal course in a capital project?
Yeah. Project.
It's
Okay.
just the way that they're moving.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, we got a vote.
okay, yeah, you
We've got a first and a second.
got first and a second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Debbie says so.
Okay, be it resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of superintendent of schools, approves Needham Risk Management Agreement. Did you have an opportunity to look at that? Are there any questions on it?
I guess we have to have it.
It's to update our safety plan every
Yeah.
year, to do some training for our staff on
Yeah.
safety.
Yep. Yep.
So, motion.
Unfortunate.
What's the cost of that agreement?
I didn't think it was
$125
expensive.
per hour.
Yeah, it's cheap.
And we don't
All right,
have
so it's a service that you'll be using.
Yeah, it's a
Fair enough.
service and, yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
not,
So I would
Safety
say-
is priority.
and they update the whole, like, get all the,
Okay.
get the
The
information and
ERPs
put it,
together and
yeah,
everything.
submit it to the state and all that kind of stuff. And then they're gonna do some training for us as well.
Thank you. Probably should have motion before. we
So,
had that.
motions.
Yes.
Mike?
So, second.
So, okay, we have
Yeah, they gotta
discussion.
put
A
you
little out of turn
different
there.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
And we have a transportation contract.
Oh, that's what.
Be it resolved that the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, approves the attached transportation contracts between Highland Central School District and noted parents effective September 7th, 2017 through June 29th, 2018, as presented to the board at this meeting. So, Mike, second.
Not really a lot of discussion
No.
to have on this, it's a required
No.
expense.
No, of course.
Where are the kids being bused?
Us to another district school, and the service simply couldn't be fit within our existing program in an economical and efficient way. So in this case, we were fortunate enough that the parents were willing and able to transport their own child at a fraction of what it would cost us to transport them.
It's a win-win.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. Is it a parochial school or religious school or? Oh, any school. Could be.
Yeah, could be
Okay.
whatever.
Obviously, unique situations.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Deb?
Sorry, I was reading. the
Oh, good,
contract.
yeah. We
Sorry.
got a first and a second?
Yes,
All right.
we've been
We
sick.
got it.
Thank you.
Okay.
I just read the contract, see if it's something like
Superintendent's comments.
Go to the next item.
Next item.
Do I
Sorry
combine
about
those
that.
today?
You know what, you can
Sarah,
have
you
both
get
of
both.
those, Sarah, that's how you
Number one
do
on
it.
that one.
There you
Gotta swap back and forth in
Nice
chairs.
show today.
Right, I don't think I need to say a lot more than the presentation, except it was a very good opening of school this year. It's always exciting to see the students back in the buildings and, you know, from the little kindergartners all the way up to our 12th graders. Sports seasons are off to a good start, and we're looking forward to a good school year. Okay.
Nice and short. We like that.
I talked a long time.
Yeah.
That was a great presentation.
Yes, it was very good.
You know, I find myself still thinking about it, quite frankly.
I wish you could have participated in the simulation because so many people have told me they can't stop thinking about it. So, yes, as a teacher, that warms my heart.
If I could just also share that, you know, when we talk about the hierarchy of designing lessons and activities, simulation is pretty
Absolutely.
high up there, so
Yep.
kudos to that.
That's truly inquiry-based learning and project-based learning at its best.
Okay, Board of Education, new business. Does anybody have any new business to bring forward?
Nope.
No. Old business. We have Superintendent of Highland Central School District search update. Other than we will be meeting with Dr. Corey. Help me out with
Yeah,
October 3rd,
Or
Third or fourth?
That's
first
October
meeting in
3rd.
October.
Right,
Should we
I
do
mean,
the survey?
at the last meeting, we really approved a calendar of events around the superintendent's recruitment. At this time, there is a survey that is out to the community. It's gonna be internal, it's gonna be external, really trying to harvest what kind of characteristics and attributes people would like for their superintendent, and that's all different stakeholders involved in that. And we actually are in the process of discussing the posting and the media, what's gonna go out really to various recruitments, and that'll be some final decisions there with Dr. Corey, and the process continues.
October 3rd, so the October 3rd board meeting, I think.
Was that our
The first
session?
regularly scheduled meeting in October.
And the survey is posted on,
The survey is posted on the district website, as well as I think a link was sent out through Facebook too, so please share your thoughts.
There's gonna be forums for the community and, you know, just different media types, so. There'll be actual events posted that community can come in and interact and participate, similar to a board meeting, to discuss these things and.
And Dr. Corey will meet with certain groups at certain times.
So it'll be a all-out effort to have the community and our publics involved, both internal and external, and
As
Move forward.
inclusive as it can be, so. Okay, let's see, we are now, code of conduct policy for the 2017-2018 school year, second reading. Was there any questions on anything within that?
Everything that was redlined had some sort of an addition.
Yeah, so that came through the site. Okay,
Yeah.
yes, it did, that helped because,
There weren't significant changes.
no,
So
Heather
that's
had some
a
minor
little bit
questions,
more
but you had addressed them
Yeah.
in that cut. So we're good.
That's one policy I think we really stayed on top of the last bunch of years.
always.
And so is Denise and Heather talking about. Are we asking to adopt for a second reading, or is this going to a third? I mean, I see no need to delay per se.
I don't,
And I don't, no one shared any concerns from the
Motion
other
to,
members.
motion to adopt the
Second.
code of conduct for the 17-18 school year after its second reading.
yeah. Well, are we all in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Or was
Did we do
I
that?
I guess I have a comment, it's absolutely amazing to read this. And maybe this is going out to parents. A lot of it just seems so common sense and codes of behavior and what you should do, what you shouldn't do. It is just amazing to me that we have to put it down in writing.
It is a legal document.
Yes, but it's just,
And you
I
know,
would-
What do you mean, I couldn't
parents.
throw the chair at this TV?
yeah.
I don't have anything stating that I can't damage that TV with the chair. But of course, in the legal world, where everyone can be represented.
All right, yes, I work for a law firm.
Well,
yeah.
That's why I'm
also,
making the
Sue,
point,
you know, even just thinking about that, the one slide that, or not one slide, but one part of that video where it talks about being very clear in your expectations. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
you
also
know,
what
you're right.
PBIS is about too,
You're
is
right.
making sure that everyone's
You're
on the
right.
same page for what
Because
their
it
expectations
may
are.
not
Some
be
of them
that way
are a
at
little,
home.
you know, you
Yeah.
think, it's
Like,
like
oh,
the McDonald's cup with, you know, be careful,
Yeah.
it's hot.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a little bit of that.
This is
So,
what we've gotta
Throw
do.
the chair at the computer.
Yeah. you know, so,
I see they videoed the piece that they used for, the bullying
yes.
and all that, that
But
was
yes,
something.
yes, I vote yes.
All right, miscellaneous, we have just some other documents, supporting documents that are under that heading.
Yep.
Ulster County School
Yep.
Board Association calendar.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, they did share a calendar.
And the Medicine School Study Council document. It's reading, we all have to do.
Yep, and it's a pleasure. I love reading.
Thank you. Public comments? Anybody additional public comments?
Larry?
I have nothing to say.
Nothing?
It's not often, by the way.
That's why I asked, because I know you.
Motion to adjourn?
Yes.
There's no
Thank you for-
executive
yes.
session after?
Yes, thank you very much.